If you've been going around the good old internet looking for the right podcast to fulfill your New York Yankees needs, well, I'll be the first to deliver the good news to you. You have found it. Here on Yapping Yankees with me, your host, Mike Scudero, you and I will be discussing the latest news, takes, and talk throughout the entire Yankee universe. Oh, and there may be some ranting on my behalf. Yeah. Anyway, what do you say we get to it? Let's get to yapping! Well, hello there, my fellow Yankee fans, and welcome to episode 269 of the Yapping Yankees podcast. As always, I am your host, Mike Scudero, your friendly neighborhood Yankee yapper with the best yap in all the land, here on the 30th and final day of November in the year 2025, with yet another extra large order of the Yappuccino for you. Thank you very much. More Japanese for you today. How you doing, guys? Tomorrow is the last month of the year. Gee whiz, Batman.
Holy crap!
Yeah, I can't believe it either. It's almost 2026. My birthday, my 29th birthday, is just a little bit more than a month away. It is just insane. I don't know how we found ourselves here. I can't keep track. Just cannot keep track. Even Thanksgiving has come and gone, which, by the way, that leads me into saying that I hope you and your loved ones all had a very happy Thanksgiving. It's been a mostly relaxing weekend for me, so that's pretty nice. Spent it with my fiance's family and my family a bit, and just did some hanging out and got some stuff done around here at the apartment, and watched a lot of anime, which is definitely my favorite thing to watch other than baseball, as a lot of you know. Maybe some of you don't. But that is my favorite thing to do, especially when baseball is not on. So got a lot of that done, and yeah, nice Thanksgiving weekend before getting back into the grind tomorrow, and I hope you all had the same. But that just leads me into remembering that it is getting colder out. It is getting darker earlier and earlier as we get closer to the shortest day of the year, which is the 21st of December, the winter solstice, which I absolutely freaking hate. I hate the winter. I hate when it's dark early. I hate the cold. I assume we'll see some snow, the big bad S word, at some point, which I also hate. I basically hate everything that has to do with winter except for the fact that there are no bugs around. That's about where that ends. So just trying to get through it as best as possible, like I do every single year throughout my entire life, because I'm a D1 winter hater, for sure. But cannot believe it's almost December nonetheless. But I do have to say that if there is one thing, one little thing that I do like about the month of December, and I actually feel anticipation being built up for it every single year leading up to December, it is baseball related, and that probably gives away what it is, but that is the winter meetings.
This is where the fun begins.
Definitely where the fun begins, Anakin. That's definitely like the high point of the off season for me every single year, and if you've been listening to me here on Yapping Yankees since I began the show in May or June of 2019, so almost 7 years ago, if you could believe that, you know that my favorite thing about the offseason is the winter meetings, because that is the place where the most things have the potential of happening during the winter when it is usually otherwise quiet. Now, it's not always quiet every single winter. Sometimes there's a lot of action. Sometimes there's some action that only picks up at certain times, and other times it's quiet. Sometimes it's mostly quiet. Depends on the year and the free agent class, the trading market. It depends. So, but there's usually the most potential always going into the winter meetings. That's where the most anticipation is going in, especially if there's a lot of exciting things on the horizon. Like this year, we got the Japanese playing market. We have some really solid free agents out there, whether they be guys that didn't opt into their contract or they had an opt-out option, or maybe guys that didn't pick up an option in their contract, or the team didn't pick up a club option, and now they're free agents regardless of the reason, or maybe they rejected a qualifying offer. Regardless, pretty good free agent class out there, and there are a lot of whispers always going around about potential trades. That's every year, and even during some years while baseball is on. So you got some of that coming up for the winter meetings, and it's got me thinking about a lot with the Yankees, as it does every year. Regardless of what I think they will or won't do next season and how much of a point I think there really is to following baseball when you have the Dodgers doing what they're doing, I still, regardless, find myself thinking about what the Yankees may do, could do, should do. And obviously that could come to fruition. It may not. There's only one way to find out, and that is just hanging tight until the winter meetings come and go and the offseason overall comes and goes. But we are getting crazy close to the winter meetings. They actually begin next Sunday, to be specific. That's Sunday the 7th. And I believe they go all the way through to, I want to say Wednesday the 10th is the last day for them. And they usually end up leaving kind of early on the last day, if I'm not mistaken, unless there happens to be a team there that's in the middle of getting something big done, so they might stick around for a little bit longer than other teams might and their staffs. But I believe that's the time window for them to begin, so it will be starting next Sunday. So I'll be back with you on December 14th to make sure to cover what happened in the winter meetings, like the biggest things that happened, whether they be Yankee or just baseball in general related, but especially if they're Yankee related. If there happens to be something that takes place at some point this week in the lead up, in the last couple of days to the winter meetings, if it's before next Sunday, if it's major regarding the Yankees specifically, I will be back next Sunday with an episode. This is usually when I'm on the highest alert throughout each offseason, when the winter meetings are coming up, because my offseason format, and I've been honoring it every other week, since this offseason began a few weeks ago. But another aspect of that offseason format for Yapping Yankees is that if anything happens amidst that bi-weekly format in the middle of those 2 weeks off, like if something happens around the Sunday in between those 2 weeks, I will do an episode the very next week on that next Sunday from when I last did one, even if I should have had another week off. But if it's something major, I want to get to talk to you about it right away, obviously. So if something happens in the lead up to the winter meetings this coming week, I will be back with you next Sunday the 7th with a Yapping Yankees episode, if it's something to do with the Yankees specifically. Just so you're aware, I know a lot of you already know that's how the Yapping Yankees offseason format works, but for some people who may be sort of newcomers, or maybe just joined at some point during the season since last offseason, or maybe people who just don't remember, I certainly can understand that. My memory is a pile of crap, so I definitely respect that if you don't remember it. But that's the deal. So if anything comes up, next Sunday I'll be back. But otherwise, I'll just be back the following Sunday, the 14th, to cover anything that did happen at the winter meetings when all is officially said and done and all wrapped up. So obviously the biggest things regarding the Yankees coming up, I mean, I got my eyes on the Japanese players fully. That's really where my attention is. I still think that Murakami especially, and also Okamoto, unfortunately have good chances of ending up on the West Coast. I think even Imai might, but I hold a little bit more faith with him because, I mean, I haven't really looked into just how true these quotes are as of now, but I keep on seeing quotes flying around that Imai said that he wants to take down the Dodgers. And I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, but if that is true, then of course the Yankees is where I would want him to be because, I mean, if you want to most immediately take them down, then I guess you go to the National League and defeat them either during the regular season a lot, or if you meet them in the playoffs before the World Series, you could also do so. But if you want to meet them on the big stage, then you're automatically going to look to American League teams because it's not possible for a National League team to play the Dodgers in the World Series. Duh. So that's where I would begin to get extra excited about the Yankees and their involvement with him and their interest in him and his potential interest in them. So I'm just still holding out hope for Imai, even if, like I said, I think the starting rotation is not at the top of the list of Yankees needs. I definitely still would not turn away a talent like Imai, that's for sure. I have too much nostalgia for Yankees Japanese pitching successes like Tanaka, for instance, and I really liked Tanaka when he was here. So just a personal weakness of mine, I guess. Some other people might not have that to the degree that I do, but I have it. So I hope that they stay in on him. I think of the three, he's got the best chance to entertain the Yankees and possibly even actually come here. I just don't feel confident enough in Murakami and Okamoto to break this nasty streak we've got going right now of the Japanese guys going from Japan to the West Coast. I don't trust them enough to break that cycle that we've had in the last couple of years. Maybe it will change with them. Maybe I'll be wrong. I would certainly welcome that, especially if it involves the Yankees with any of the three of them. But I just have the most faith in Imai to do that, especially given his quote about wanting to take down the Dodgers, if that is in fact true. I think it is. I've seen it around a lot. But I've also seen a lot of claims that Paul O'Neill has cancer, and that was vehemently denied. And I'm glad it was, because that's not a rumor that you want people thinking is true, of course. But in case you haven't heard that rumor, yeah, there's been nasty rumors going around, particularly Yankees Facebook, which is just a cesspool of misinformation for the Yankees community. So I'm not surprised that's where it started. I think that's where it started. But regardless, it got some traction before the Yankees and the Yes Network and everybody else finally spoke out and said, yeah, that's just not true, bro. So stop spreading this crap. So in case you haven't heard that, then that has been going around. And in case you have and you were freaking out about it, it is not true. So I guess that was just little detours to me saying whether or not I know quote is true. So just going a little bit off the rails there. Typical ADD moment for me, but we'll keep our eyes on the Japanese market for that. I do know that some other Japanese prospects were posted recently. I will feign ignorance on it. I did not do as much research as I should have. I only know the other guy's name is Kona Takahashi, so that's the other pitcher that's been posted. So we'll see what happens with him. I didn't really look into him all that much. But it's really Takahashi, Imai, Okamoto, and Murakami, obviously. Those are the big ones, but the big three I've been talking about for weeks now, and that everybody's been talking about for weeks now, is Okamoto, Murakami, and Imai. Those are the big three, and I'm still strongly looking to Imai. Takahashi apparently is very good as well, but I'm going to keep my eyes and ears out for Imai, and all of them, but especially Imai. So the Japanese market's definitely a big one, and most of, if not all of them, are posted right now to Major League Baseball in their windows of time for negotiation as we speak. So something could definitely happen at the winter meetings, and that's going to be a big thing I keep my ears out for. So I'm definitely excited for that. That's a big thing going on. The other big thing going on, especially in regards to the Yankees, I should say, I guess it'll just be a rundown and just overall talking about Yankees news tonight, because it's just really a more general episode, just a winter meetings build up, just the biggest talking points for the Yankees heading into them. Nothing really more tonight. But the other thing is the big question that everybody has in their minds seemingly right after the other big piece of news from the 18th. So 12 days ago, almost 2 weeks ago, just 2 days after the last time we yapped on, what was that, the 16th? Yeah. So just a couple of days after that, there was news that came out that Trent Grisham actually accepted that $22 million qualifying offer.
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
Yeah, it depends on who you talk to, Palpatine. But I mean, I did say it would be in his best interest personally for him himself to take it. And I guess we'll talk about that a little bit, because what I was getting to before is that the next big talking point after the Japanese trio and all of the rest of the Japanese players posted so far heading into the winter meetings, this about Trent leads into that other big talking point I was about to mention before. So I'll hit on Trent first. But yeah, so Trent did take the qualifying offer after all. And now the big question it did beg to is now, what do they do as far as filling the rest of the outfield? Because like I mentioned on the last episode, and it's gotten a lot of people talking about where to go next for the outfield, you have Jason, you have Spencer Jones if you want to bring him up, and then you have the two other big names that are being thrown around depending on what the Yankees and their fans want, which direction they want them to go in. And those two big names, and it's going to be one or the other. It's not going to be both, because both are going to demand some money and some years. And you'd really just be out of outfield positions for both of them, because either of these guys have got to play basically every day. The next big question is Bellinger or Kyle Tucker.
Oh my God!
Yeah, see, a lot of Yankee fans aren't the only ones tweaking out about this decision. Joseph Joestar is also flying off the handle about it. So don't feel so bad. But yeah, that's the big question, because now that Trent's going to be back, and I assume they plan on playing him at least a decent amount, because as I was saying a couple of weeks ago, if not, $22 million is quite the expensive fourth outfielder. So that's why I said if the Yankees didn't plan on playing him almost every day once again, then for payroll purposes, again, not that I have any sympathy for the Yankees when it comes to money. I want to keep emphasizing that. But just to play devil's advocate and play it from Hal Steinbrenner's point of view, from a payroll perspective, that may not be as good of an option now that Trent picked up that qualifying offer, because you're going to spend $22 million on him where that could have gone to another area of the team, outfield or otherwise. And that is expensive for a fourth outfielder if you're not planning on playing him every day. As far as Trent's concerned, like I said, he just got off the breakout season beyond the year of his life. And I think in order to really get years on a contract, he would have to duplicate that or replicate it to the best of his ability as close as possible to prove to teams that he deserves a multi-year contract. So I think that's why I was saying, and for the fact that it's just $22 million, he might not see that again if he just goes back to the offensive numbers he always had before this. That's why I was saying it might be in his best interest to take this qualifying offer. And he might very well have wanted to test the free agent market, and he was well within his rights to do so. But I thought that for all those circumstances and reasons combined, it might be in his best interest to take the qualifying offer. And that's exactly what he did. So whether it was for my reasons or any others he might have had, I guess he agreed with it because he took the qualifying offer. But now you're in the position with the Yankees that you have Trent now. That's another outfield position plugged up that you might have wanted to plug with an external option, or maybe even another internal option, Jason or Spencer or whatever else, or whoever else rather. And now you have that spot plugged up, and if you're not planning on playing Trent every day or almost every day at least, depending on matchups or whatnot, I guess, then that is a lot of money for someone who's probably not an everyday outfielder or something at least close to it. So that puts you in a bit of a bind if you're the Yankees and puts you in a tough spot because you're paying a decent chunk of cash for someone who's not even out there nearly all the time. So that's kind of the con side, I would say, to Trent taking the qualifying offer. The pro, at least for me, is that I think he's great to have around the team. I think the guys love him. He's a great clubhouse presence. And listen, he did have a great year last year. Did he disappear in the playoffs? Yeah, he absolutely did, but so did 90% of the rest of the lineup. So I'm not going to look to him solely for that. Is he part of the blame? Sure, he's part of the blame. But is he the blame like a lot of people I think wanted him to be? I guess because of their disappointment in him after the kind of season he had last year? No, he's not going to be nearly all to blame because, again, 90% of the rest of the lineup did about the same thing. Judge and a little bit of Ryan McMahon maybe were on an island all by themselves offensively in the postseason. And that was for far more reasons other than just Trent Grisham. So for the rest of the year, given the fact that he was one of the team's most clutch hitters, he's a great defender, and he'll be just a dog for you out there, and he'll just even aura farm on top of it if you give a crap about that. Then, and I just like the guy personally, so for those reasons, I think those are pros to having him back, but it's also, has cons to it. Whether it be payroll, plugging up an outfield spot, and potentially hindering somebody else or someone better. Like, I think Trent is good. I think he had a great outlier season last year, but there could be more consistently talented and just overall better year in and year out throughout the league other options than Trent Grisham. So that could have complicated some things. And that leaves you in a place now where, now that you have Trent, you have a little less wiggle room. So that begs the question, now that we've gone through Trent, do you go for Bellinger? Do you want Bellinger back? He opted out, which he expected. He had himself a nice year last year, even though he was also part of the postseason offense disappearing act. But he had himself a very nice season. And you have him as an option again. You saw him in pinstripes in 25. You saw how nicely he fit in here. You saw the numbers he put up. You saw the defense he can give you in multiple positions, mind you. Very versatile. Do you bring him in? Or do you bring Kyle Tucker in, who has been more consistent throughout his career, maybe less versatile than Cody, but will give you solid defense, really solid defense, especially in right. And I do know that Tucker has experience in the other outfield positions. I do know that, like Cody does, but Cody has a lot more experience in all the outfield positions collectively than Kyle Tucker does. Like, Tucker has played a little bit of left field, very little of center, and he even played a few games at first base, which we all know that that's basically Cody's capability. He can play first in all the outfield positions, but Cody has more experience at the rest of them, if I had to say. And I'm just taking a second to double check that. He definitely does. Cody's played like 550 games in center field. He's played 350 at first base. He's played 234 in right field and even 126 in left, most of those being with the Yankees last year, obviously. And on the other hand, if you look at other positions that Tucker has played other than right field, let's see here, you have, he DH'd 50 times, and you have left field 72 games, center field he's played 5, and first base he's played 4. So yeah, much less experience in all other positions other than right. And that's not to hold against him, I'm just saying that Cody gives you that much more versatility if you had to compare. But I guess if you wanted Tucker to be in other positions, the most friendly one next to right field, I mean, he has minimal experience in the others. It's tough to say. I guess you could try him out in center field if people would be open to doing that. But you feel more comfortable with Cody taking literally any of the 3 outfield positions that you might need taken. And even first base. He's got hundreds and hundreds of games at first base, which Tucker only has a few. And I know the first base part might not even play a factor with either of them, but it's just up for discussion as far as versatility. So if you want solid right field, you could get Tucker if you're comfortable with maybe moving Judge back to center, or you could keep Judge in right and see how Tucker does in center if you're comfortable with doing another experiment with him playing out there for most of the year. Or I guess you could just switch them if it doesn't work out. Put Judge in center and Tucker in right. I guess it's up to the Yankees. They've certainly never shied away from experiments in the field, especially ones that they should not have indulged. But I mean, if they want to try it out with someone with the talent of Tucker, I wouldn't fault them. And if it doesn't work out, you just go on the fly and change things up. I mean, you know that Judge is, except for a crucial play in the World Series that people will definitely never stop bringing up. I know that I don't stop bringing it up either, but it's only because I know nobody else will either. So what the hell's the point of trying to keep it in? But especially just aside from one play in the World Series in center field, Judge has proven to be a very, very capable center fielder. So if absolutely need be, you could put him there and Tucker and right if you want. But then what about Trent? That's the tough part. Trent primarily plays in center. Would you want to try to teach him left if you want to force him to play out there? I don't know. His comfortability is center field. So that's what I mean. That's where a little bit of the con comes in if you got other things being imagined here. But, I mean, just for payroll purposes, though, other than just having Trent back, they probably were just going to go Bellinger or Tucker anyway. You probably weren't going to have both of them. So, I mean, what do you do at that point? Because even if you wanted to bring Jason back in to have him play more, or if you wanted to call Spencer up, then you have Judge and Tucker out there. And if you wanted a choice between Jason and Spencer, I guess you could leave Spencer down there to develop a little bit more, and then Jason could just grab left. Even though with Jason, too, Jason came up mostly playing center field. That was said to be his primary position. But then where's Trent? He's your 4th outfielder. You're paying him $22 million to be on the bench. And I know what everybody's going to say. It's going to be matchups, and Boone likes to switch players in and out and platoon anyway. But, I mean, I only agree with that to a certain degree, because I do also feel like that with lineups, and you hear players, current and former, always saying this, so I know I'm not crazy unless they're just freaking lying, that to a degree, they appreciate consistency. Guys like to know where they're going to be and when they're going to be there more often than not. So I only agree with the matchups obsession so much. I agree that sometimes it's necessary and should at least be looked into, but if you're just going to constantly keep switching guys in and out and in and out, especially if they're on a hot streak, or maybe even they're in a cold streak, and more consistent gameplay, if they've already had some time off, might do them some good and get them hot again. For whatever reason you're talking about, I don't think that constant rotating for an entire year is a good thing for some guys. Maybe for some others it is, and they don't give a crap. Fine. But I know for some others that doesn't work. And especially if you're paying guys pretty pennies to be out there very often, then to a degree, some of your money is just going down the drain. You're burning some money. So again, either way you play it, now that Trent is back, you got some decisions to make. But that's the question, particularly because Trent is back, you got a bit of a plugged-up outfielder, especially if you want to incorporate... Got a plugged-up outfield, rather, not outfielder. Plugged-up outfield, especially if you still want to incorporate Jason and or Spencer. And if you're bringing back Bellinger, or if you're shying away from Bellinger and going after Kyle Tucker. Either way, somebody is going to be on the bench much more often than others. I mean, I don't know. I've had Twitter dialogues with people lately, and I've still been saying that if they're not going to use Jason consistently, because that's the overall picture for the rest of the outfield and why they might go down certain routes. I mean, for payroll purposes and for roster purposes, like I said, it's going to be Bellinger or Tucker. It's not going to be both of them. So you have that, and then you also have the question of whether or not you're going to incorporate Jason and or Spencer. If you're going to keep Spencer down there for at least the start of the season, fine, that's up to them, whatever. I personally think the kid should get some looks, but again, they might not even have the room to do so because now they have a pretty plugged-up outfield, especially depending on the path they choose for the rest of the offseason for other guys. But you also have Jason there. And I think Jason has been really screwed with for some time now. That some of that is not entirely the Yankees' fault. He spent some time being hurt. I understand that, especially in 2024. But then even when he wasn't and he was ready to go, they jerked him around and played Verdugo over him. The end of 2023, after he played for a few weeks, that's when his injuries began, and that went into 24. But then again, even once he came back, when he was ready to go, they screwed with him with Verdugo. And then in 25, did he see much more playing time? Yeah, he absolutely did. But whether it be the matchups crap or just, I mean, a big part of it, I think, was Trent having a much better season than anybody anticipated. That's definitely fair. But he still missed out on what could have been a bit more playing time. I think he needs some more time to go out there and play even more consistently. And I think if there's going to be an outfield where you see that Jason gets little to no gameplay at all, like I said, I stand by what I said a couple of weeks ago. I think the Yankees would be better off just trading him and getting something back for him, maybe addressing another urgent area of need on the team. I just think that's the better way to go rather than just having him sit on the bench most of the time. I'm not saying that that's really what happened in 25. I think there could have been instances where he saw a little bit more playing time, even though he got a decent amount of it still. But if it's going to be even less in 26, because they're going to have an even more plugged up outfield, and he's going to get little to no playing time at that point, maybe just a couple of times a week, I don't think it's worth keeping him around. A couple of people I spoke to said that, they should just demote him back down to AAA, and he should continue development down there, and then when the Yankees have open room for him, then just bring him up. I completely disagree with that, because I think that Jason is beyond AAA development at this point. I think he has seen a decent amount of games up here to the point where, I mean, listen, if he had to go down to the minors because he was coming back from injury, or maybe it's because he's just break a cold streak or something like that, just for a couple of weeks and, just to get his confidence back under him again, like some teams do with other guys, unlike the Yankees ever did with Volpe, really. They're saying they might do that with him in 26. I hope so, but we'll see after his surgery recovery. But regardless, if you want to do something like that with Jason, in the event that something like that was going on, maybe he was hitting disgracefully for a few weeks, and you're like, all right, let's just send him down to get his wits about him again and set him straight, then that's another story. But just to send him back down and keep him down there for an extended amount of time, just because there's no room on the team, I don't agree with that. He's at least a couple of years into his years of control so far. He has seen a good amount of games in the major leagues to the point where I believe it warrants him staying here and continuing the rest of his development up here. I don't think he belongs in the minor leagues for even sort of a long-term period just because there's no room for him up here. Just on a personal level for him, I'd rather him get traded and see him complete his development in the majors with another team. The Yankees have messed up enough of their prospects in the last few years, coming up from the minors and hindering their gameplay and making bad decisions with them. I don't want to see that happen with Jason, too. I mean, there There are certain situations where Jason, I think, could have come through a little bit more in 2025 that he didn't, and maybe that contributed to them not looking to him a little bit more. And like I said, Cody had himself a nice year. Trent had a huge outlier year, so you had to play him more. So, yeah, things like that, factors like that could have hurt Jason's playing time too. I'm not denying that. But if things like that are still going to happen, and you're going to have even more of a congested outfield in 2026, I think it might be in his best interest personally to just be traded elsewhere. Especially if that means the Yankees could get a meaningful piece back for another aspect of the team. At that point, I feel it would be a win-win for both sides. I think the Yankees would get a great potential piece back for him, potentially, and then some. I mean, if somebody else is included in a potential package with him to another team. And then he can finish his development in the major leagues elsewhere, make a big name for himself, be the huge player that the Yankees anticipated for him to be when he was coming up. I mean, a lot of people are going to disagree with that. That's a hot take, saying that I think Jason should get traded if they're not going to give him proper outfield time, if the 2026 outfield is even more congested and guys have more breakout seasons or just solid seasons in general to the point where you can't afford to sit them nearly as often as you thought you might be able to get away with. But that's my take on it. That's my take. If it comes down to between Jason or Spencer, who I'd rather see Spencer at this point. I think Spencer should start to get his feet wet in the majors a little bit, and I'd like to see what he'd be capable of. Now, the only thing is that Spencer would be another lefty, and the Yankees don't need that. That's why with the Japanese players, for instance, I said Okamoto has his own appeal to him because he's a right-handed hitter, which is what the Yankees need. So that's Jason's benefit because he is a switch hitter. He can be a right-handed hitter if need be, even though we all know that his right-handed hitting side is his weaker side. By far, the numbers are not even close. The thing that's positive is that, again, and I want to remind people of this to give further credit to Jason, he is playing winter ball this year, and apparently his focus is to really concentrate on improving his hitting ability from the right side. So that's really good. I like that. I want to hear that. I want the best for Jason. I'm not giving that trade suggestion as a negative. I'm almost saying that as a what's potentially best for him scenario if the Yankees are not going to give him the proper playing time that he deserves or that he needs to continue his development in a proper way. So there's that factor to consider too. He is playing winter ball. He's working hard to improve upon his weaknesses that he himself has even been able to see in himself. So that's good. But again, all of these questions here, more confusion as to which direction the Yankees could go for the outfield. This could be solved within the next week and a half or 2 weeks when the winter meetings are done. In this time, from now until the next time we yap, they might decide to go with Cody. They might decide to go with Tucker. If they go with one or the other, then the other is not coming back or coming to the Yankees in general. Like in the instance, if Tucker's signed here, then Bellinger's not coming back. If Bellinger comes back, Tucker's not coming here. It's one or the other. So it'll be between the two of them. And then I guess from that point forward, they figure out what to do elsewhere. I think the first objective should be Bellinger or Tucker. And then you go from there. Then you complete the outfield. You figure it out what it is you want to do with Jason or Spencer, and obviously with Trent being back. Because at that point, if you bring Bellinger back or if you bring Tucker in, you have Judge and another outfielder at that point, whether it be Bellinger or Tucker, and that'll depend on where Judge plays, I think. Because if it's Bellinger, then Judge will stay in right. If it's Tucker, then they might move Judge to center if they're not comfortable with moving Tucker to center. Or maybe even moving Tucker to left. I mean, I don't know. But his primary position that he has vastly more experience with and is far better defensively is right field. That's the deal with Tucker. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, and some people are probably waiting for me to mention this, yes, Tucker has been known to be good defensively in right field in the past. He is a Gold Glove winner after all. Now, recently, his defensive metrics have been going down, and that is a point of concern for some people. The reason why I have not mentioned that as much is because I do think he'd have an easier time in right field if he were a Yankee. Obviously, you can't deny the fact that right field is easier to play in Yankee Stadium, less real estate to cover and whatnot. So I think those struggles wouldn't be as persistent if he were to play right field at the Yankees. So, but that is a concern. He was pretty solid defensively in right field in the past, and that's why I always bring up him being solid in right. That hasn't as much been the case recently. But I do think it would be fine if he were playing Yankee Stadium's right field. So I think it would correct itself a bit with the recent concerns. But just in the interest of accuracy, just wanted to be fully upfront about that whole discussion. So, see what happens with either of those two. That's my thing about what I think will happen first and what I think the Yankees should do. Tackle one of those two first, because it's not going to be both of them. Figure out who you want, which one you want. Bring that person in. And then, as I said before, especially in light of Trent accepting his qualifying offer, that's where the other decisions come into place about what you already have internally as to what you want to do for the outfield in 2026. More days than not. Again, you're probably going to be shifting people out and platooning, matchups, all that nonsense, whatever. That's what the Yankees always do, whether we like it or not. So, get one of those two, and then you have Trent, Jason, and Spencer to consider. 3 players for one remaining position in the outfield. And it's not even for one definitive position. They could switch around depending on the day, because some days, if Tucker might be getting the day off, or if he's hurt or whatnot, then you'll see Judge back in right if he's here, and you'll see Trent in center, and you'll probably see Jason in left or something like that. If Bellinger is here, then you'll see Bellinger in left, maybe Trent in center, and Judge in right. Jason on the bench, or depending on matchups, if it's lefty, if it's a lefty pitcher, then you might see Jason out there and Trent sitting, and maybe you have Bellinger in center, or maybe Judge in center, Bellinger in right, or what. I mean, you haven't really seen that arrangement very often, but I mean, the possibilities are just endless. The Yankees always shift crap around, so depending on who they get, and depending on the day, who they're facing, and who Aaron Boone and whoever else makes the lineup with him, whoever else likes, whatever anybody likes better in the analytic department. It just depends on the day. But they'll have decisions to make, because more often than not, if they have Judge and Cody and or Tucker, it's Cody or Tucker, I should say, then those are 2 guys right there. And you assume you want at least, obviously, your 3 outfielders, the main ones, and then 1 or 2 for depth. So that's where the decisions start. You have to make the decision between Bellinger or Tucker, and then go from there. And Trent is back now. If Trent did not take that qualifying offer, yes, some of us like Trent, and we see the pros of him being back. But the inevitable cons is that you're $22 million in now with a guy who could potentially end up being a 4th outfielder, and it's one less spot that you have as far as wiggle room. If Trent was not back, then if you had Judge and then Cody or Tucker, you probably would still have 2 other guys able to do their thing with one more position, rather than having 3 guys to consider. Because if you had those 2 guys, Cody or Tucker, and then Judge, then you would just have Jason left after that, I would say. You could have Jason and Spencer. And what you want to do with him for 2026. If you want to call him up, where would you put him? So on and so forth. Now you also have Trent to consider. So when you bring in one of those 2 guys, I would hope it'd be one of those 2 guys, Bellinger or Tucker. I'm pretty sure it'll be one of those 2. It's a very good chance. You have 3 other guys to talk about for one other fill-in, one other position. So that's what the Yankees face. Worry about Bellinger and Tucker first. Obviously, this is tough because I like the both of them. If you want to talk about which player is more consistent, which player will probably have more of a chance to believe in to just have a better season, and which one is more of a guarantee to do so, which one will also give you more defense, which is the overall better option, and they're both lefties, so there's no advantage to being lefty or righty or whatnot. The right answer is Kyle Tucker. He's the answer. Better long-term option as well. He'll stick around for a while. Is he going to cost a pretty penny? Yeah, he will. I think Bellinger will get some pretty good money, too. I think Tucker will get more, obviously. It's tough, though, because Bellinger has his pros, too, man. He's been much more inconsistent throughout his career, especially prior to the last 3 years. So there's that worry if anything like that ever happens to him again. If he ever falls off a cliff, anything remotely close to the way he did years ago, a couple of times, in the earlier part of this decade. So there's the inconsistency there. But the rest of it is basically pros. If you watched him play with the Yankees last year, you liked how he handled things in pinstripes. You liked how naturally he fit in here. You liked the numbers he put up. You like his versatility and how good he was defensively wherever they put him. You liked how he was willing to do anything they asked him to do. He fits well here. And are you going to be able to get him for less? Yeah, probably. Is he still going to get paid? Yeah. Could you get him for less? Yeah. Less than Tucker? Probably. He'll give you more leeway defensively, though. Yeah, you have more wiggle room with him. You could try Tucker elsewhere, but there's less of a guarantee than there is with Cody, who has more experience, a lot more experience in all the other positions other than just right field or just center field or just left field or just first base. So it's tough. It's a tough call. I think they're both good options, and if nothing else, the Yankees already know Cody. They know him now. He was here for a year already. They're not that familiar with Tucker, so it might be a bit of a gamble with him. Maybe he ends up coming here and he can't handle New York. You already know that Cody likes New York. He did well here. They know him. He knows them, and he knows us, the fans, too. So there are a lot of factors to consider here and think about. It's not just so cut and dry, black and white. It's not like that. It seldom ever is. With sports overall, let alone baseball. And talking about guys, whether or not they'll fit in with the Yankees especially. Some guys can't handle New York. That's a thing. So, safer, overall more talented and consistent player will give you plus defense in right. And you can figure out what to do with the rest of the outfield if you're comfortable with that. Move Judge back to center or maybe test him out elsewhere, then fine, we could gamble that. Tucker's your guy. Much more experience being versatile, much less discussion and controversy about recent defensive capabilities just in general. Familiarity with the team and the city already. Also a lefty, so it doesn't make a difference there. Put up a nice season in the 1 year he was here already. Just shy of a 3,100 season, home runs and RBIs. Then it's Cody. And you have the money to consider if you're the Yankees. Us Yankee fans don't care. We don't sympathize with the Yankees when it comes to money. It's up to you, really. I think Tucker is a very fascinating option. I really do. I would not have an issue at all if he is brought in. But I would also not have an issue at all if Cody is brought back. Objectively better, safer, more talented and consistent player is Tucker. That's just the objective truth. But I'm not going to sit here and make it seem like I'm going to have a problem with Cody coming back either, because I am not. I like Cody a lot. I think he fit in wonderfully here last year. So, to be honest with you, I know this is a boring answer from a content creator to their listeners. I'm kind of neutral on this, guys. I definitely want and even need them to get at least one of those two. If at least one of those two are not a Yankee next year, I'm going to have a problem. But when it comes to which one, I'm cool with either, man. Maybe slightest edge to Tucker, but I'm telling you, it's like a hair. It's like 51-49. I really wouldn't mind either of them. That's going to be an unpopular opinion with some people. It's going to be a boring opinion for some people, but that's the opinion. I'm genuine. I'm honest on this show. I always have been and I always will be. I love the both of them. Plenty of things to like about Tucker and certainly plenty of things to like about Bellinger, too. And honestly, like anybody else, there are certain things to not like about both of them, too. That's the fact of the matter. But that's the big point of discussion, because that's really the biggest discussion right now. And when it comes to the outfield, that's the first thing that should be done. Decide between Bellinger or Tucker. Which one is plausible? Which one can you get? And how soon can you get them? And then you figure out the outfield from there, what you want to do, especially in light of Trent having accepted the qualifying offer. So the outfield is a big point of discussion right now, but so is the infield. People are still talking about the infield a bunch there. A bunch of other names flying around. Brendan Donovan's a name that continues to fly around year after year after year after year. In involvement with the Yankees now, I just don't think that's ever going to happen when it comes to the outfield. And again, they got enough decisions to make in the outfield without bringing another name into the mix. I want it to either be Bellinger or Tucker, to be honest. I'm not even thinking of anybody else these days. So I want it to be one of those two, and then you figure out what to do from there with the options you already have on hand. That's my take on that. But the infield still got some things to think about. I mean, it'll be interesting because I think a lot of this hinges on what they do or don't do with the Japanese trio. Like if they get Murakami or Okamoto, they have another infield option. They have someone to put at third base to potentially platoon with Ryan McMahon. I personally would give the Japanese guy, especially if you're paying him a pretty dollar, I would give him much more playing time personally. I mean, especially just to see what he's got in the States now. Have him prove himself. He could be a huge asset, especially if it's Okamoto, because he'll be even better defensively. He'll be the right-handed hitter you need. I mean, these guys can play first base. I hear that it's better at third, but they could get first base reps. If you want to open up the outfield a little bit, this is another option in regards to if you get Cody back. And again, if you get him back, there's another plus of him and his improved or even more versatility over someone like Tucker, I should say. If you want to open up the outfield and you don't have more of a solution for first base, I would have Bellinger take some reps there. And it doesn't have to be nearly every day, but Bellinger could get some playing time at first base if you need him there on any particular day, especially if you're doing your matchup BS if you're the Yankees. I mean, I've personally already said I want Ben Rice behind the plate, and then Wells could be his backup. I don't want Wells being the everyday catcher anymore. I just don't. I gave up on that some time ago. So I've said this already. I'm repeating myself. But I personally would have Rice behind the plate, being the main starting catcher. And then if you need first base cover and you got nobody else on a particular day, and you want Wells to get there and give Rice some time off from behind the plate, then I would put Rice at first at that point. Or if, let's say, if Wells is behind the plate on a given day, you just want Rice to have a day off completely, then you put Bellinger or anybody else there. If you get one of the Japanese guys, put them at first. There's a lot of possibilities that could happen here. It just depends on which path they go down, to be honest. And I know how people are going to feel with the Rice thing. I have heard it already. Oh, he doesn't throw well behind the plate yet. His defense isn't quite there. Well, keep on working on it with him then. The entire winter and into spring training. If it takes time away from Wells playing, then that's good for me. I know Wells improved defensively. Good for him. But if Rice could get there too, improve defensively with that bat and its potential that we saw in 2025, I want Rice back there more. Is that such a bad thing? Is it nonsense? I don't see it. So that's just my take on it. Jazz is going to be at second. I think Caballero will at least start the year at short. I don't see them throwing a bag at Bichette or any other shortstop, unfortunately. So Caballero's fine as long as it's not Volpe. That's all I care about. He's recovering from his surgery, and what are they going to do after that? There are whispers of him starting the minors again. I think that'd be great because he has been that bad for that long. Like I said before, that'd be an example as to where I'd understand, despite a player having a lot of major league experience, why you'd send them back down to the minors for a little bit to restore their confidence any way you can. That's an instance where I'd be okay with it, like I was talking about before. So as long as it's not Volpe to start the year, that's all I care about. And then third base, I guess, again, that particularly with the corner infield spots, with third and first. That depends on what they do or don't do in the offensive Japanese market with Okamoto and Murakami. We'll see. There are a lot of paths forward for the Yankees. A lot of paths. So these are all things that people are talking about a lot in the Yankees community getting into the winter meetings as we head up to them. It's exciting stuff, guys. Exciting stuff. Just a couple of other pieces of news that I wanted to mention before we sign off here. This looks like it's going to end up being the shortest Yapping Yankees episode in a long time. I'm pretty sure that'll be a refresher for some of you because I know that my listener times are tall asks. I know that. I appreciate it more than you know all the time. As I always say, you sit there and listen to me just yap mindlessly for even hours sometimes. It's just ridiculous. I'm aware of that. It's just you can't shut me up. But this might end up being one of the shortest ones. So let's keep on going. Just a couple of other pieces of news outside of what could happen or should happen or may happen in the next week and a half or so leading up to the winter meetings. Just a couple of things that have already happened in the last couple of weeks since we last yapped with the Yankees. And these are good things, in my opinion. Good things. Back on the 17th, the day before Trent accepted his qualifying offer, just the day after we last spoke, right after the last episode when I had said that I think he'd be another nice lefty middle reliever option to bring back, or maybe even a temporary sub in the rotation when they might need him at the beginning of the year, the Yankees ended up bringing Ryan Yarbrough back on a one-year deal.
Yay!
I gotta agree, Gojo. Like I've been saying, I think this is a good move. I think it is. I think it adds to the middle reliever depth for whenever the rotation bulks back up once you get Rodon back and Cole back. And if you bring Imai in, then that's another option to have. And the rotation will be more than bulked up by then. But even at the beginning, if you bring Imai in, you'll still have Fried and Schlittler and Imai and Heel and potentially Warren. If you want to use Warren, I'm not his biggest fan personally, but that's up to the Yankees. It's not up to me. But if you are not to use him, then you could use Yarbrough to fill out the fifth spot in that rotation like he did for a chunk of 25 for a little bit there. And might I remind a lot of you, in case you don't remember yourselves, when he did do that, he did a fine job. He really did. He did much better than in the mid-reliever role. So if he were to do that, I'd be okay with that. But you know what? Even as a lefty mid-reliever option, I'd be fine with that. He's an innings eater. And I think he didn't do a bad job at that at all with the Yankees last year. There were times where he had his rough outings, of course. Who doesn't? And he's also a soft throwing option, which honestly nowadays could be considered to be a breath of fresh air because everybody's throwing 190,000 miles an hour now. And it could actually throw some guys off experiencing a bit of a slower thrower. And I think that's what has certain guys baffled against Yarbrough sometimes. I think it's good. Shows a guy relying on his craft and his movement of the pitches and location and overall ability rather than just slinging it. I respect it. That's what I've always respected about Yarbrough, even when he was a divisional rival. When he was pitching with the Rays for a lot of years and just when because he's jumped around a lot of teams. So I think that's a good option. It's just a one-year deal, so it's pretty harmless. It's good, whether he's a rotation filler or a mid-relief option. I don't have a problem with this move at all. I'm cool with it. So welcome back Ryan Yarbrough. I think he's a decent asset to have. So that's another move that they made. Could be another help to a bullpen in need or just a rotation filler while they're in need just in the first month or so. And then the other piece of news that came out just some days ago, and this I'm happy about because a lot of these guys, it's just really like cleaning house, you know? It's like just cleaning the crap out. But some non-tendering news. This is part of the offseason that passed as well. Who's tendered, who's non-tendered. And the Yankees did quite a bit of non-tendering, all of which I agree. Leiter Jr., Hamilton, Efros, Cousins, Michael Arias, all non-tendered. That, to me, is terrific news, to be honest. Move on from all of them as far as I'm concerned.
Give me a hell yeah!
Honestly, hell yeah. I don't want to sound like a douche. I mean, these are still people with families and jobs and livelihoods. I get that. It's got nothing to do with that. Just as far as specifically with the Yankees and cleaning house and just getting rid of the nonsense that we've seen, especially throughout 2025. I mean, listen, Leiter Jr., Had himself a nice run in the back half of 2024, and especially in the playoffs. I won't forget that. I'll always give him credit for it. Yes, absolutely. But 2025 was a nightmare, and it's what he's done for much of his career. So you have to think maybe it's just a sign of him getting back down to earth and being what he always was. So you just cut ties. I think it's fine to do. Ian Hamilton. He had his good times for sure. He was a Warrior a lot of the time. He's been here a couple of years. And again, we'll always hold those good times close. I very much appreciate relievers who really didn't have much of a name before, was discovered by Matt Blake and the Yankees, came here, was transformed into a respectable arm, and really came through in so many key situations for the Yankees. I will never forget that. But again, 2025 was a nightmare. It just felt like every time he came in, he fell apart. Basically every single time. And even when he was good, this was still a bit of a problem, and he'd missed some extended time from it. He was frequently injured. And I know that's out of his control. It's out of a lot of guys' controls. I get it. But still, missed him a lot of time. And maybe similarly, sort of to Jonathan Loaisiga, maybe it just ended up being a bit too much time to the point where the stuff goes. It just goes. And he had about as rough a year as I can see a reliever have in 2025. So again, clean it out, purge it, done. Scott Effross, I could not be more fine with this because he just really did nothing in his time here. It's unfortunate because when the Yankees acquired him at the trade deadline a couple of years ago, he was supposed to be a big help to the bullpen. And with the Cubs, he was solid. I was very happy when he was included in that trade here. And in case any of you forgot the details surrounding that trade, that was back at the trade deadline in 2022 when the Yankees had traded Wesneski over to Chicago. Blast from the past, right? Big Yankees pitching prospect. And they got Effross back for bullpen help. And he was a big asset at the time because he was pitching real good for the Cubs. He was a promising young rookie reliever at the time. And he was under team control for like 4 or 5 seasons. And they only had to trade Wesneski to get him. So it was a great move at the time. It just didn't pan out. He's pitched so little in all these years that have passed in the 3 or 4 seasons. And he was just always injured. And anytime he has come back for his little spouts of time, he was bad. Because he's been away so much. So, my God, it was just one of those trades that was great initially, but just did not pan out at all whatsoever. Just waiting forever. Like, oh, Effross is about to come back. Oh, he has a setback. Or, oh, now he's back and he sucks. And it's just a whirlwind. So, did not pan out at all. So, again, I'm okay with just cleaning that out. Sad for what could have been, but it is what it is. Jake Cousins, also in 2024. Had his fair share of good times. But also had his times where he was very wild. He threw hard, and his breaking stuff was devastating. But that also resulted in him being wild a lot. And he missed basically all of 2025 from injury. He's been out for so long, and even when times came around where he was getting a little close to coming back, and then he needed Tommy John surgery and the setbacks before that, and it didn't work out. And I guess they didn't have a positive outlook on his ability to be healthy in the future either, so just cut him. And Michael Arias as well, fine, just another arm on the side, gone. I think this was a very solid, just purging of pitching nonsense by the Yankees, so I think that was really good. And just a lot of excess, just pitching gone. Just clean it out. I'm perfectly cool with it. I like it. And I think doing that and then bringing an arm back like Ryan Yarbrough, I think those were good moves. Good start to just the baseline things that had to be done with pitching around the beginning sort of part of the offseason here where we are. So I think those are good moves for the Yankees. Steps in the right direction. Keep going from here. Winter meetings are coming up. See which pitchers you can meet with. Try to meet with Tatsuya Imai. Maybe even with Takahashi if you want to pull him too, maybe. I don't know. Either one of them is fine. I got to do a little bit more research on Takahashi, I have to admit. But get either of them And also meet with Murakami and Okamoto, even if you believe they're going to go to the West Coast. There's no reason to not at least meet or inquire. You have to. It's the responsible thing to do. So you have that. You have the outfield dilemma coming up with Bellinger or Tucker, and then what to do after that. There's a lot to look forward to with the winter meetings coming up, guys. So good winter meeting build-up coming up. I cannot wait till the next time we yap to see what the Yankees did. I mean, listen, plenty of winter meetings have come and gone, and the Yankees and plenty of others do nothing. There have been plenty of winter meetings that come and go, and it's very quiet. That happens plenty, and it could happen again this year, but I'm pulling for something more. Even if it's something that happens leading up to them, before they've even started, or maybe at the very tail end of them, or maybe right after they're done, after they had good initial meetings with people at the winter meetings, then you capitalize on them after that, make something happen in the weeks to come following that. Totally cool either way, but I hope we hear a lot of hot stove discussion in the next week and a half, and I'm sure we will, but I'm looking forward to hearing all the rumors just take over my phone notifications, my timeline on Twitter, and even on some of the other social media platforms. This is the time of year in the offseason every single year that I look the most forward to, the time leading up to the winter meetings. And I hope you're looking as forward to it as I am, because I personally am very, very excited. We'll see what is to come with that. And without a social media segment today, again, my friends, I'm sorry I've been slacking so hard on that, but I've just been enjoying these times just sitting here and yapping away to you. So I hope you have been too. I'll try to do a social media segment with you next week in honor of it being episode 270. I'll try to bring one back, especially if something major happens with the winter meetings on the next episode, whether it be next Sunday if something happens this next week or the following Sunday, and keeping true to the bi-weekly off-season format for Yapping Yankees, regardless of when it is. If something big does happen, it'll be all the more reason for a social media segment to pick your brains a little bit. See what we all think about what might happen within the next week and a half or so. But with that being said, guys, otherwise, that is all for episode 269 today. The usuals. Please remember to follow me on all social medias if you do not already, my friends. Facebook fan page, Mike Scudero NY. My Twitter or X is at Mike Scudero. That's where I am most active and post to the most, so especially follow me on there if you're not going to follow me anywhere else. And my Instagram as well is at MikeScuds97. Be sure to subscribe to Yapping Yankees on all 4 of the platforms it is available on as well, my good people. Those platforms are YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Like, subscribe, comment wherever you may be listening to show your love and spread the word about the show, like you all always do such a great job at doing already, my friends. And if you have the time, if you missed any past Yapping Yankees episodes, episode 1, all the way back in May or June of 2019, all those years back, all the way to episode 269 today, you can find all of those episodes on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. But if you're more of a YouTube listener like I am, or YouTube watcher, that's totally fine. I totally get that. Just know, again, like I say every week, that I did not start uploading Yapping Yankees episodes on YouTube till episode 34. So if you're cool with that, episodes 34 all the way up to today's episode, those are all available on YouTube for your listening pleasure. Otherwise, once again, I thank you 3,000 for listening to me yap today. As always, my good friends, I have been your host, Mike Scudero, and we shall yap again on Sunday, December 14th, when I come at you with episode 270 of Yapping Yankees. Again, unless something big happens within this next week leading up to next Sunday when the winter meetings begin. If that happens, you'll hear from me next Sunday the 7th. If not, 2 Sundays from now, December 14th. But until then, guys, the usual reminders. Hang in there. Be patient. Please stay safe. Look out for your loved ones. Go ahead and kick life's ass this week, as I always remind you to do each and every episode. And let's all get hyped for the next week, for the winter meetings to begin, with the buildup getting closer and closer, in hopes of the hot stove getting hotter and hotter the closer the meetings get. And let's see the Yankees make some damn moves. What do you say?
Give me a hell yeah!
Stone Cold again. Love it. All right, my friends. Until we yap again, hopefully after the Yankees have an active round at the winter meetings. Take care, and let's go Yanks.